What's going on, everyone? Jonathan here. I'm outside of Sports One Marketing in Irvine, California. We're getting ready for a podcast interview with David Meltzer. He's an international best-selling author, business owner, co-founder of this business right here, an entertainment and marketing agency, and I am so excited to be having him on my podcast. So let's go ahead inside and get this thing going. All right, what is going on, everyone? My name is Jonathan, and I am the host of the Aymin Audio Podcast, and I am so excited to be here today with David Meltzer. He's welcomed us here into his office, Sports One Marketing. Thank you so much for having us here.
Yeah, thanks for coming into the Playbook Sound House here. This is cool, man. And anyone that's read my book 4 times, they deserve to come in here. So thanks for coming.
Well, I have to say it's kind of surreal because I've seen content on your YouTube channel, and for anyone watching, please go check it out. Pick up a copy of one of these books that he has. David Meltzer, I have to brag a little bit on you. 3-time best-selling author. We've Connected to Goodness, Compassionate Capitalism. A book that we don't have here right now is most recent release, Game Time Decision Making. And the resources that you've put out for the entrepreneur community and really the depth of information that's in there is incredible. And what you've been doing on your social media channels as I've followed you with releasing more content and all that is amazing. So our mission here with the podcast is to inspire entrepreneurship. And so we do that by bringing different people on, different walks of life, different experiences. I want to just dive right into your story. I encourage everyone to read the book. Just for a little bit of context, though. Most kids, when they graduate college, they're worried about repaying student loans. They're worried about getting a job. They're worrying about a number of different things that come post-college. Your story reads differently. You graduate college, and under a year, you're making $1 million. Out
of law school. I went to law school.
Okay, so on top of, so that's even more debt and more time.
Oh yeah, I had no debt from college because I got a scholarship.
Okay.
But yeah, I went to law school, borrowed $100,000, and then 9 months out of law school was a millionaire.
How does that happen? Being 9 months, and then after that, so at 35, then you're worth over $100 million. So how does that happen? It's a totally different read than normal.
And yeah, it's a different world I lived in because I was heavily focused, and I was focused on making money. And the reason I wanted to be rich from the time I was 5 is my dad left. My mom was a single mom with 6 kids. And only time I wasn't happy as a kid was when something financial happened. The car broke down. We couldn't go to summer camp, or my mom was stressed out somehow. We were working her 2 jobs and packing our, dinners in a paper bag for dinner, So I, in my mind, I was like, I can make money. Everything else was doctor, lawyer, failure in my family. Mm-hmm. Harvard, Penn, or Columbia in my family.
Okay.
Everything was driven by education.
And where'd you grow up?
I was born in Akron, Ohio.
Okay.
And when I was 9, my mom blessed me and moved me to San Diego with all my siblings. So if we're going to be poor, we were poor outside in perfect weather. And for someone who wanted and loved athletics, it was the perfect move for me because I could practice till it got dark or even beyond all day long, and it didn't cost me anything to run, to throw a ball against the wall, to find a pickup game somewhere. And San Diego was much easier, run in the sand. There's all kinds of things that I think attributed to me being able to be close to my potential. But my main focus in life was to be rich. And everything that I did, including playing football in college, was to be rich. I want to be a professional player, and then wanting to be a doctor and realizing doctors had to be in hospitals, but I hated hospitals. And then wanting to be a lawyer, I went to law school that had the best maritime law program because oil and gas lawyers made the most money. And then getting out of law school, I had a choice between the internet and the law. And despite my mom telling me I should be a real lawyer, I went with the money. And I had a $250,000 comp plan right out of law school to sell legal research online, Westlaw. And people ask me, how'd you make $1 million then? I'll tell you how I made it. And it's what I think one of the biggest obstacles that entrepreneurs face is they don't understand acceleration and growth. I'm very mathematical, very emotional person, but very mathematical. And I think it's truly my superpower is that I can equate quantitative value where everyone else is looking at subjective value. Meaning, when I got out of law school, I didn't just look at 250 and make that my goal. I said to myself, on average, what is everybody productive in a day. And I said, they're best guys. To get to 250, I have to be productive 8 hours a day. I'm going to have to be really focused. I said, but I don't want $250,000. I want to be a millionaire. When I was 5 years old, I actually told my mom, I'm going to make $1 million. I'm going to buy you a house. I'm going to buy you a car. And I'm never going to have to work. Never going to have to work again.
Wow.
That's how much $1 million was worth to me, where I was living in a 2-bedroom apartment with 6 kids.
Do you hear your parents talk about money? Just on that real quick.
My dad did. My mom was not. My mom was education, love, family. It was all never about money, right? Money doesn't buy my happiness. The only thing, like grandparents would say things like, it's just as easy to marry a rich girl as it is a poor one. That was the only thing I remember, like, in the whole culture.
Yeah.
But it was like straight A's.
Okay.
You know, the money will come. You get straight A's. You get into Harvard. This is how you're gonna be successful. You don't, these, you know, selling Skittles isn't the way you're gonna do it, Dave. You know. So I, you know, took that job and I said, okay, what if then, if I want to make 250, what if I was productive 16 hours a day? I should make 500 grand, right? Just by math.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, and then I started looking at it and saying, you know, what if I could be efficient with my time, right? What if I could be twice as efficient? So 16 hours of productivity could come 32 hours of productivity a day. And what if I could be more statistically successful? And then I looked at the math of that saying, well, you know, I don't have experience. I'm not very good at selling. I don't have a territory where I know everyone. You know, I looked at all the pragmatic, quantitative variables, and I said, but what do I have? What if I did twice as many appointments? So if they're closing one out of 10, what if I went to 20 appointments and you know, closed 1 out of 10? It'd be 2, right? Twice as many. 64 hours of productivity. Then I said, most of these guys are married with kids, have houses, they have lives, they coach, they do, right? I didn't, right? I had law loans. That's all I had. That was my best friend. So I'll work 7 days a week. Now, people said, you're going to work 7 days a week. And then I started saying, well, I'm not going to call it work anymore. If it's going to be 7 days a week, it's kind of like working out. It's just activity I get paid for. So I decided that 7 days a week, I would spend 64 hours of productive time in activity I get paid for. So the irony was, in 9 months, when I made $1 million, and the way they reward you in comp plans for making $1 million for those entrepreneur and salespeople out there is they cut your comp plan, right?
I was going to say the comp plan probably wasn't set up for that level.
No, they changed it and they cut it. And I still outdid everyone 3-1, the next closest guy to me. But
wow.
What was interesting is they gave me all these awards and accolades and subjective value, and all I wanted was money and quantitative value. I wanted bigger territory and more commissions and bonuses. They wanted to cut all that and give me awards and accolades. It doesn't pay for anything, or dinners. I laugh because I remember my vice president, Lou Lombardi, is my mentor, saying, man, that's incredible what you did. And I was laughing. I go, wasn't that planned? And he goes, what are you talking about? You did $1 million. Your comp plan was 250. I said, yeah, but I worked 10 years, right? I'd worked 10 years in 9 months in productivity and accessibility. How much value was I providing? How accessible was I? And how was I accessing what I wanted? That formula is the formula to success. It's all about the math and being able to learn the lessons and continuing to accelerate and grow. Sooner or later, it's a 2x2 strategy that will help everyone.
So you were compressing time. You were finding ways to
value in time.
Yeah, absolutely. So when you think about advice that you give to college kids, you have an incredible internship program here, I understand. When you think about advice to people who are in college, people who are graduating from high school, going into college, maybe who are very excited, you know, they watch some of your videos or whatever, what advice would you give them as far as how to find a job or get into a role, or maybe they're at kind of like a lower level role, but then they're looking to really expand? Any practical advice that you have, maybe some even just personal experience stuff that you have here with interns?
Ask. Find somebody that sits in the situation that you want to be in and ask, do you know anybody that can help me? Don't limit your point of entry. Right? Look at things and ask, be more interested than interesting. I was with the president of Staples and Microsoft Live, and he had a great story how he was a facility manager at all these colleges and he wanted to get into sports. And, you know, he went on this interview, and it was for commercial real estate, but he's more interested than interesting. He saw that they own some sports facilities, including the Forum, and he went into there and asked for mentorship, informational interviews, and he said, hey, I'm not really interested in being facility manager for your high rises, but I'd really like to work over there at the Forum. And the lady's like, yeah, I think you'd be good for that. Right? Meanwhile, 99.9% of the people never ask. So go out there, be more interested than interesting, find the people that sit in the situation that you want to be in, or know people that sit in the situation you want to be in, and ask, show radical humility and ask for help.
I want to dig into that just a little bit. So when you say be more interested than interesting, you're talking about asking questions instead of coming in and kind of showing everything that you know. Is that correct?
We are at a time, we were talking about technology moving so fast and the acceleration from when I used to sell Westlaw and DOS computers and WordPerfect 5.1 and 9600 baud modems. We are the closest we've come to a quantum field that holds all information that we can access. So yes, I am saying access the information, find and learn as much as you can, be so interested in what you want that the focus plus the intention will equal the mathematical coincidence of two angles perfectly connecting to one another. A coincidence is what we want. They're all around us. We're just not aware of it because we are not paying attention. Sometimes we're putting intention into it, right? The law of Goya, working hard, smart, and long. We just aren't aware that things are happening in our favor, that this is a setup, not a setback. So pay attention, be more interested than interesting. You can access this stuff so much easier than you could 20 years ago.
And that's something we were talking about right before with, I think, how entrepreneurship has changed, because now the information is so much more readily available. You know, it took you 3 hours to boot the computer up, right?
Yeah, exactly.
You know, and then we're talking different stuff, iPads, and, you know, we're just talking about the new iPhone being, so it's just making the technology so much more readily available. As you think about something you were touching on, quantitative field, and I know you talk about in the book meditation, and you talk about kind of visualization and putting your intention, your focus towards that. What do you really think? Because, you know, people read the book like The Secret or different things like that.
I'm in actually the movie Beyond the Secret that's coming out. So
really,
just got the trailer for it. Yeah.
Oh, amazing. Okay, so we'll have to check that out.
Yeah,
I love it. What is the difference though between people that spend their time on vision boards and you know, setting their intentions correctly, and then those who are actually maybe taking action and just getting things done? Because I think that I've seen people, at least in my limited experience, on both sides of the spectrum, who just are all head down, all focused on whatever's next in front of them, or people that spend all their time, you know, kind of like trying to imagine what life is going to be like in the next phase or whatever.
It's funny because in my experience, I've never seen that. So I've only seen people that utilize the law of Goya, right? Get off your ass, work hard, work smart, and work long. I've seen people all day long be successful with that. Mm-hmm. The most successful people that I've seen, and the biggest transition or shift in the paradigm that I've had, is that I utilize the law of attraction, the law of intention first, vision boards, all of those things alongside with the law of Goya, right? That attention and focus. I haven't seen anyone in my experience that can just sit around and meditate and not take action.
Okay.
Right?
Because actually the meditation leads to some form of action.
Correct.
Okay.
Right. Yeah. So, but I think the best course is a combination, a continuum from conscious, subconscious to unconscious, meaning that you need to work hard, work smart, work long. We live at this vibration. Money is a currency. It's an energy that you want into the flow and want to create as much of it as you can to give it away, allow things to come through you. You need to have intention, right? The law of attraction. You have to utilize your vision board of some sorts, whether it's actually written out or on a computer, or on your phone, or just in your mind of a meditative state for 20 minutes a day or 2 minutes a day. The law of surrender to me is the one that everyone leaves out. And the law of surrender is what will give you the acceleration and growth that most people don't experience. You know, I made millions of dollars, over $100 million with the law of Goya, right? I was a little train that could. I just outworked you. Mm-hmm. I worked smart, I worked hard, and I worked long. Then I learned the power of intention, where things had less resistance, interference, or corrosion, right? So now my efforts were exponential because I was getting more coincidences, and I had a trajectory of my action towards exactly what I wanted.
What's kind of the net difference then? And I don't know if you were going
there.
Yeah,
and that's the law of surrender. So the more you can understand that we are connected to the greatest source of everything, an infinity of source of power that gives us, in our pinky, for example, we have enough power to light up the new stadium. In our pinky, how do you think that got there? How do you think there's that? I mean, physically, you can test, right? They know we have that much power in our pinky, enough to light up a stadium. That's what runs through our body. How do you think that got there? I'll tell you how it got there. It's because we are all connected to that quantum, the biggest, strongest, unbelievable power, light, inspiration. And what do? We use our ego. We use our ego to interfere and to slow down that connection. Right? We believe fear is a motivator. It's not. It's a complete decelerator. It's a complete cog. It's corrosion to that source of power. So you need to surrender to the fact that, and trust the fact that if I work hard, smart, and long, if I pay attention and intention to what I want, that what coincides in my life from there is a perfect angle, right? That coincidence is a perfect angle. Two lines that come together, a perfect angle is coinciding lines. That's an angle. That's how I see the difference. And the more conscious and cognitive we are about the corrosion when we're on the wrong trajectory, when we're wasting energy, resources, time, and emotion, because we have a need to be right, a need to be offended, a need to be separate, inferior, superior, a need to be angry, frustrated, scared, anxious, all these different needs that I see. I got 3 teenage daughters. I see it every day. I have to allow them to learn on their own. I can't just tell them, oh, you're in your own way. Doesn't do any good, right? Because I get in my own way every day. Yeah. What has improved my life is that I get back to center. I clear the connection better and quicker than ever before. But yet every day I'm happy, but not all day long. I still do stupid stuff.
Yeah, well, and so I have a question then about that. So as an entrepreneur, and you, I think of all people, are spinning so many plates. You've got so many balls in the air, and you're fielding things from this podcast to speaking to traveling to all your philanthropy to just everything you do. And then you're keeping Sports One marketing running as well. There's so much going on. How do you handle focus, and how do you view focus as an entrepreneur? Because as you're saying, so much of this thought process that you're discussing feels very deliberate. It feels very intentional, like you're saying. So how do you handle focus as an entrepreneur when you have maybe fires you need to put out and all sorts of things? Just practically, what does that look like?
So I have a platform, and it's based off of, number one, what speeds up everything is knowing your values. So every day, I make sure I look at my personal values, experiential values, giving values, and receiving. I have a routine for what I call my home routine from when I'm here and it's a normal day. And then I have an away routine, adaptable routine that says, okay, there's a bachelor party tonight, or I got family coming into town, or it's Yom Kippur, or, I'm going to travel to Madrid. But I always have a routine that's based off of knowing, starting at the highest frequency, meditating 20 minutes in the day, finding the highest frequency, so I know that when I'm off of that trajectory, not pursuing my potential, that I quickly go back to that high frequency. If you don't know where your high frequency is for the day, you're starting with the wrong action, you're going to get the wrong reactions. You only get one action every day when you wake up. So I want to control my first action so that my reactions are at the highest frequency, at the most close to my potential. So those values include gratitude, empathy, forgiveness, accountability, and inspiration, always being aware or enlightened about that corrosion or that clearing of the connection to that which inspires me. Getting to the really pragmatic comes the next one. Ask. How many times am I asking today? 2 things. The offer. How can I be of service? Or asking enough questions to understand how I can be of service. And then 2, the most important question that contributes and illustrates radical humility, which is, do you know anybody that can help me? I'm consistently asking in person, on the phone, via email, media, radio, print, TV, and social media, those 2 asks. Then it goes to student in my calendar. We live in a pragmatic world, a man-made construct called time. There's 24 hours in a day. The number one thing I know about my time by studying my calendar is there's one habit that everyone on earth shares. It's the number one habit that they have, and it's the one they ignore the most. It's called sleep. So I study sleep. I study those hours of sleep to make sure I'm efficient, effective, and statistically successful with my sleep, so I don't need as much. And what I get out of it is much more inspirational in the subconscious and unconscious mind. It's like a muscle I'm working out every single night because I have an advantage over 99.9% of the people on earth is I'm studying sleep. While everybody else is worried about the activity they get paid for, which is not consistent, and the habits vary, and the obstacles and obsessions and addictions and characteristics and all the personality traits are not always conducive to what they want, I'm studying sleep, where my conscious is out of the way, where I'm just directed towards the 40,000 of the same thoughts that sit in my subconscious that create the neural pathways that send a frequency to my unconscious competency, my DNA, my quantum memory that I have from generations or lifetimes before me, so that I can access this field of everything. I then, from being a student in my calendar, I have a rule called do it now, because I want to stay present, and most people don't understand what it means to be present. I'm present by doing things now. So one of the greatest efficiencies that I've learned to do is that I ask myself whenever it occurs, can I do it now? If I can do it now, I do it now, saving at least twice as much time and making me exponentially more successful. If I can't do it now, I have a do it now repository. Could be a folder, could be a note, but I have a repository of everything that I can't do now. And then I study in my calendar a place, the white space of my calendar is the next thing I study after sleep, because it's actually the most amount of time that we have, the non-scheduled in-person, on the phone, email, and social media. That's what I study, and I put in there, do it now folder. Therefore, directed for 10 minutes to go through my do it now folder, prioritized by what's most important, and then what's most urgent. If something's important and urgent, it goes fast. If just important, it goes next. If it's just urgent, it goes next. And if it's unimportant and unurgent, I drop it off my list. But I'm consistently knocking them off one at a time. Finally, after that, after do it now, I practice ending fear, which means I practice understanding, raising my awareness to when I'm in the ego-based consciousness, when I'm in my way, when I'm creating an interference or connection, corrosion to the connection, because the more power I can harness, the stronger this power will be.
Was there ever a time, because like you said, you're a father, was there ever a time where unexpected things throw that off? How do you handle that? I mean, because I have three children. Yeah, so how...
I have four every day. I got a wife. I got a dog. I got every day, man. I live. So that's the coolest question. You know, I know we're getting closer to the end, so it's a good place. Look, I'm not only a teacher, right? A motivator, an inspired person. I'm a student, right? I have very simple lessons. And the one lesson I learned is I'm here to learn lessons. And I'm going to forget every lesson I ever learned, but I have the power to remember lessons. Even lessons I haven't learned, I can remember, come back together to them. So every single day, I'm in ego-based consciousness. The trick is to build the muscle of how quickly I can get back to that highest frequency, how quickly I can get back to truth consciousness, how quickly I can get back to feeling good. My goal is to teach people not to be happy 15 days a year, but to be happy every single day. And eventually, I'd love for them to be happy all day long, but it's not going to happen because we are reacting to 3 kids or 4 kids. We're reacting to the lady cutting us off. We're reacting to, you know, a business issue that didn't go as we anticipated. And the better we become at understanding and putting faith, the aggregate of what we think, say, do, and believe, and those unconscious competencies of our personality traits, characteristics, obsessions, and addictions, when we aggregate all that in faith, what are we doing? When we start voting for what we want, not voting for what we don't want, we start getting what we want. And that's what I'm in this consistent, persistent pursuit of voting for what I want all day long. And when I start voting for what I don't want, putting faith into what other people think of me or other people want for me, and saying, wait a second, I'm not going to vote for that because I'm not going to elect that into my life. I'm going to elect things that you may not even imagine can happen, like $1 trillion or impacting 1 billion people on earth to be happy. That's the space that you want to live in. But until you have the true humility to say every single day, I have forgotten every lesson that I've learned. Every day I'm not grateful at one time or another. I'm not forgiving every single day at one time or another. I'm not accountable at one time or another, and I'm not inspired. And I know those 4 great truths in my life that are listed in Connected to Goodness, listed in Compassionate Capitalism, especially the workbook, How to Create the Life You Love.
That book
and finally,
is amazing.
the last one, you know, Game Time Decision Making. It has to tell you that we just got to practice ending fear. And then when we practice, we'll get better. The coolest thing about practicing what I'm talking about, unlike sports, where, you know, everyone knows, you might not admit it when you're 10, you kind of get it when you're 20, you totally get it when you're 30, and it's there when you're 40. Sooner or later, the practice doesn't help, right? There's a reality of the pragmatic world. Practicing ending fear when you're 95, and you practice it since you were 10 the same way you did throwing or catching or kicking, it's extraordinary. There's no limitations to pursuing your potential in this area. And this area has so much more of a qualitative and quantitative value in your life than being a Hall of Fame football player.
I love it. Ask and you vote for what you want, not what you don't want.
Exactly.
I love it. David, thank you so much. I really appreciate you having us here and being so hospitable. Your team's amazing, and thank you for these resources. And I'm looking forward to sharing this with my team and as many people as I can. So
thank you for sharing my content and
Thank
doing
you.
good deeds. We'll do this again.
yeah,
I appreciate you. Anything I can do, be of service, reach out. Just remember David Meltzer at David Meltzer. Search David Meltzer. Plug it all you want. Share my content and do good deeds.
absolutely.
And be kind to your future self. Let's do this again.
Sounds good. Thank you.
Thanks, John.